Today was one of the most incredibly important days in a long, long time for a variety of reasons. A lot of great news, a lot of great transformations and change. But believe it or not, one of the most interesting was a little story about this guy named Gavin Newsom. And why it's important is that he gave a tell. He indicated and showed people specifically that if you pay attention to what he's doing, he is showing you what's going to happen in 2028 and why he recognizes the fact that you cannot plan, you cannot succeed if you maintain this idiocy, which is normally this woke lunacy. You can't survive. So what he did, which was incredibly fascinating, he had his first podcast. And what did he do? What was important? What he did was he had on Charlie Kirk. And they spoke. And he basically is pivoting away from some of the problems as to the woke ideology. And one that I have always said, number one, trans athletes. It made the most sense. It was the best issue to deal with because all you had to do was ask somebody, do you think a man should compete against a woman? It's that simple. And most people would say no. And that's it. I like a topic that's so easy to understand, so simple that everybody grasps it. You don't have to know anything about, well, there is the moment where the zygote could share some of the... No. Well, sometimes there are people who, by virtue of their sense of gender... No. A man who enjoys certain hormonal benefits and attributes of testosterone and the like should not be able to play sports against women. It's the easiest. And it's what I have been saying forever. Stick to that one. And that's what's happening. So we have loads of stories today. My friend, I know you know this, but I'm going to remind you. We are not winning. You are involved and you are seeing something which is a transpositional, transformational evolution, revolution, a renaissance, whatever you want to call it. It is like nothing I have ever seen or thought even possible. So there is great news. So get ready, sit back, watch what we do, watch what happens, watch and pay very, very close attention. But first, my friends, this critical message. Listen up, patriots. Just because Donald Trump is back doesn't mean the chaos is over. The world is on edge. Listen carefully. Weather disasters, supply chain failures, labor strikes, economic sabotage. And let's not forget, the radical left is in full meltdown mode. They're not used to losing, and desperate people do desperate things. Capiche? So listen carefully. What happens when the food trucks stop rolling, when grocery store shelves go empty, when power outages leave you in the dark with nothing? You must act now. Prepare. Go to preparewithlionel.com and save $100 on the 3-month emergency food supply. Delicious, nutrient-packed meals that last 25 years. This is not an MRE. This is the world's premier survival food, except no substitutes. If you don't prepare now, you'll regret it. Once disaster strikes, the FEMA lines will be miles long. Will you be standing in them, or will you be safe, ready, and in control? Time is running out. Supplies are vanishing fast. So go to preparewithlionel.com now before it's too late. But let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Let's look at what's happening and why this is important and why Gavin Newsom. I think I've told you this before, but for those who don't know, Gavin Newsom is part of the California mafia. The people who are his benefactors specifically are the Getty family. The people who run California are the Newsoms, the D'Alessandros, who are Nancy's family, but actually the Pelosi's, the Browns, and the Gettys, Balthazar Getty and others. He owns this. They are so incestuous. You haven't heard about them. They are their own kind of USAID. And Gavin Newsom has been picked by them since day one. Gavin Newsom also was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, who became Kimberly Guilfoyle Newsom, who now is the ambassadress to Greece and was just basically pushed out of the country so nobody would ever see her again. But understand how that thing is. Put that in the back of your mind. So let me tell you what happened. So Gavin Newsom, Mr. Product, Mr. Slick-haired, Mr. Perpetually smirking governor of California, has finally woken up and, I guess, smelled the coffee, or whatever particular phrase you like. Or more accurately, smelled the combustion and the smoke and the steam of the Trump train. He recognizes what's happening. And how can you miss it? In a stunning about face, ladies and gentlemen, today, Newsom launched his new podcast. It's called This Is Gavin Newsom, as opposed to This Is Izzy Hershkowitz, which would make no sense. But the bombshell, ready for this? He now believes that it is deeply unfair for transgender athletes to compete against women. Let me rephrase this. For men to compete against women. You understand that? In women's sports. Now, this isn't some noble epiphany from a man who's spent what amounts to decades of his political career posturing as the golden boy of progressive value. No, this is a cold, calculated maneuver from a politician who sees the writing on the wall that the radical left is sinking deeply, collapsing before your and our very eyes. He understands that Donald Trump is king of the jungle. And if Newsom wants a prayer, has a prayer of winning the White House in 2028, which is what he wants, he better start shredding and shedding and disavowing this lunatic fringe like a snake sloughing off dead skin. Change to molt. Remove this. Now let's be real. Let's be focused, okay? And let's be honest. Gavin Newsom's track record on transgender issues is as woke and as left as it gets. This is the guy who, as San Francisco mayor, defied his own party to issue same-sex marriage licenses in, I think, 2 decades ago, about 20 years ago. This is the move, by the way, that cemented his cred with the Rainbow Flag Brigade when nobody wanted to do this. I mean, so he was ahead of the curve. And as governor, he signed. And by the way, I personally have no problem with gay people getting married. Never have. I've been saying that since as long as I can remember. Civil sanction, no problem. Adults get, no problem. None. Religion can maintain any particular rules at once, but not the government. The government can sanction it, should sanction it, no problem. Never understood why that was a big deal in the first place. But he also signed some of the most radical transgender laws in the nation, turning what amounts to California into a sanctuary state for every gender-bending experiment that the radical left could dream of, which is true. But now, in his chat with MAGA firebrand, the inimitable, the ineffable Charlie Kirk, on his podcast debut. Now, first of all, let me ask you this. Do you think Charlie Kirk should have appeared with Gavin Newsom? I say absolutely not. Why are you doing this? Why are you adding legitimacy? You should treat him like a stink bomb, like some syphilitic typhoid Mary. What are you doing? But he did it, and he was on his podcast debut. And Newsom now is singing a different tune. It's an issue of fairness, he says. He was cooing and nodding along as Charlie pretty much railed against, the whole transgender nonsense. The high school track star, dominating girls' events. Quote, he says, we've got to own that. We've got to acknowledge it. This is what Newsom said. Now, the translation of this is very simply this: the gig and the jig is up. The public's fed up with this nonsense, and Gavin Newsom's not about to let his presidential ambitions get trampled by the purple-haired nose, hardware mob or whatever it is. So why the flip-flop? Why the change? Simple. Because Gavin Newsom's not stupid. He's a political animal with his eyes locked on 2028. And he's watched Donald Trump steamroll the competition in 2024. He knows what's going on. And basically, Trump turned the whole transgender rights thing into a cultural cudgel that left Kamala and Joe Biden and the radical left busted, bruised, and hurting. And the Democrats reeling. So what he's doing right now is Trump's campaign, as you know, was a masterclass in populist brilliance. Millions poured into ads, millions slamming Harris for backing taxpayer-funded gender transitions with some of the great taglines. One was Kamala's for they and them. President Trump is for you. Excuse me. And it worked. It worked. The American people, sick of the pronoun police and all this other nonsense and locker room debates, they said no. They handed Trump a second term in a landslide. So Gavin Newsom says, ever the opportunist, he says, wait a minute. I see exactly the scoreboard. I see exactly what's going on here. He knows the radical left's obsession with transgender athletes and all this nonsense. So he's not about to lose this issue because it's electoral kryptonite. He knows this. And if he's going to take on the Trump juggernaut, and if he's going to try to take this on, he sees what's going to happen. He knows he needs to ditch the baggage and fast. But it's also a symbol, and it's a symbol of what's happening as far as the entire message. Because this isn't just Newsom jumping ship. It's a signal flare, to the crumbling remnants, the detritus, the smoldering ashes of the Democratic Party. This woke experiment, whatever the reason for it, it's over. And the adults are taking the wheel. And look around you. Look around you. Newsom's not alone. Take junk yogurt, please. The bombastic, he always looks like he's covered in lotion, like he's greasy or something. Like he's sweating. He looks very uncomfortable, very dyspeptic, yelling and screaming. Supposedly, not supposedly, but supposedly bankrolled by Katzenberg or one of those guys with Anna Farina, whatever her name is. He's also this is an absolute self-righteous leftist who built a career sneering at conservatives. Now even he's starting to say, wait a minute, and he's talking, of course, to people like Dr. Phil or whatever about how we have to. So you see what's happening. This is not, you look at these folks to see where the tide is changing. He's starting to hedge, quietly acknowledging that the transgender issue is alienating voters. Gee, they just figured this out now. So why is he doing this? Because the Trump train isn't just speeding ahead. It's a freight train. It's loaded with public sentiment, and anyone still clinging to this nonsense, to this radical left's third rail business about transgender is going to get flattened. There's no way around it. It's the truth. Donald Trump, let's be honest, is a political genius. Love him or hate him, the man's a force of nature. He's charismatic, relentless, and laser focused. Laser focused on what regular people actually care about. Think about this. He's turned transgender rights into a wedge issue that exposed, for what it's worth, the truth and the reality of this. It exposed the left's disconnect from reality, and he did it with a grin and a rally chant. And here's what you got to remember. While the Democrats were busy policing language and defending niche policies and forever speaking into their Instagram with the pink hair and all this stuff and doing drag dances at schools, and Donald Trump was out there promising jobs, security, and listen to me, a return to common sense. It's simple. It's executive beauty. His executive order, I should say, last month banning transgender athletes. Remember, this is just 45 days he's been in. Banning transgender athletes. It wasn't just red meat for his base. It was a gauntlet. It was a gauntlet thrown at the feet of every wannabe 2028 contender. He is picking the song list. He's telling you ahead of time. And Newsom picked it up, not because he's suddenly seen the light, not because he's wised up. No, but because he knows Trump's winning formula. He knows that Trump's winning formula and the particular things he's saying is the only playbook for what matters. He's smart and he's leading the pack. You don't understand this. So let me see if I can explain this again. At every layer there is, political, social, ideological, it's changing. Don't let the Al Greens or the Pocahontases or whatever, they can have their paddles. They are so irrelevant, they don't get it. The radical left, meanwhile, is in free fall. Their shrill insistence on transgender athletes still in women's sports is beyond insane. It has and continues to alienate everybody outside of their echo chamber worlds. Parents and athletes, and even moderate Democrats, by the way. Moderate Democrats who just want their daughters to have a fair shot and not get hurt and not lose a scholarship. It's just common sense. So Newsom's podcast pivot isn't a betrayal of their sacred cows. No. It's a mercy killing. He's not wrestling with the fairness issue, as Charlie Kirk suggested. And I still say Charlie Kirk. Naughty, bad for you. I wouldn't have given him I would have given him the stink eye. I would have said, I'm not going to get anywhere near you. You are vile. No, I'm not going to lend any credibility. I'm not going to let any of my people maybe tune in and maybe hear something. Why did Charlie Kirk do this? I don't know this. But as he suggested, he's cutting the cord on a movement that's become a political liability. And the California Legislative LGBTQ caucus can, I keep hearing people saying clutch their pearls, but they can do that and cry, profoundly sickened and all this nonsense. But what? Gavin Newsom's already moved on. And he's not here to coddle. He's not here to be nice. Some tiny, loud minority, and that's what they are. He's here to win. And that's what this is about. And by the way, remember this. He's not the only one waking up. This is really important. Across the left, cracks it for me. Did you hear Pete Booty giggity? Another 2028 hopeful? I swear to God. He took a swipe at the diversity dogma that makes Trump Republicans. Remember this one? Who was it? Governor J.B. Pritzker. By the way, have you seen this guy? Does he look very ill to you? He's been mum on the issue, a far cry from the usual progressive bluster. So you got booty giggity. Yeah, this one. Even the human rights campaign's Kelly Robinson can't muster more than a limp stand up for what's right, rebuke, whatever the hell that means. Nobody's buying it anymore. Nobody did in the first place. The left's old guard is realizing. But let me say something. And please, if you listen to one thing I'm suggesting to you, without USAID, without the money that made USAID, without that, they have no program anymore. They have no movement anymore. Do you hear what I'm saying? The USAID group, the USAID positioning was what made that possible. And you're finding that a lot of people said, we don't care about this, whether you like it or not, because we've got the money. We don't care whether anybody's watching MSDNC, whether anybody's watching CNN, whether anybody cares about Politico. We're getting our money for this anyway. The money's gone. Now they're realizing, wait a minute, you mean nobody believes this? No, you were being artificially propped up. You see, the left's old guard is realizing that what Newsom apparently has grasped. Trump's tapped into something primal, something the woke crowd can't touch. The man is a titan. He's bold, he's brash, He's unapologetically American. And the Democrats, or at least through Newsom, their only hope is to steal a page from his book. And this podcast itself is very, very interesting, is a masterstroke of repositioning. You see, everybody can do it. Inviting Charlie Kirk, again, why did he do this? Why? I don't understand that. But that's me. Maybe because of this. Not the money, this. Inviting Kirk, a Trump confidant who talks to the president twice a week, which is fine. Maybe it wasn't an olive branch to conservatives. Maybe it was a billboard screaming, I'm not one of them anymore. And that's what Charlie Kirk did by doing this. You're lending your name. You're giving an endorsement, a kind of an imprimatur. Hey, he's okay. This Newsom must be okay. Well, Charlie Kirk was on. Why are you doing that? I would have said, I'm not going to be in the same room. This is my intellectual and ideological enemy. I'm sure he's a fine person in current life, but this is a war we're fighting. He represented the people who basically tried to destroy this president. He was the one who was responsible. He didn't care about California. No. But Charlie Kirk didn't hold back. To his credit, he was pressing Newsom on a transgender track star's 40-foot triple jump victory in California, and Newsom didn't flinch. He didn't really move. He says, we're getting crushed on it. Crushed, he says. And he said, that's not contrition, that's survival. He's not just distancing himself from the radical left. He's planting a flag in the center where the real voters are. That's what he's trying to do. And if cozying up to some MAGA Trump star ruffles feathers in Sacramento, so be it. He doesn't care. Newsom's playing the long game and 2028 surprise. And I'm going to say again, Charlie, I wish you didn't do this. Now, I love the fact that everybody is an influencer and they're great, but there is nobody that you would ever have heard of really affects me the way those folks sort of do. I'm not really I'm not a fan, as it were. So far, my friends, I'm so glad to say that Arnold Young is a new member. Arnold, welcome. The Brad says Charlie is paid off, now getting Newsom president. We'll see. Brad Rung said, what's with Amy Coney Barrett with the vote? TROs. We'll see what happens in a long time. There is an internecine battle going on with Alito and others, so we'll keep an eye on that. I wouldn't worry about it yet. It's just the votes are kind of like they're temporary restraining orders. They're not dealing with the major issue. We're talking about whether there is some type of an appreciable actual harm that's being felt now. And don't worry about it. I'll tell you when to worry. But I want to go back about something. The brutal truth is that the radical left and these people and their adherents and their focus on trans sports, this crusade of theirs was built on nothing, a house of cards, I guess. It was built on feelings and on facts, and it was proposed and popped up by a media that was too scared to call it out. And Trump came in, kicked over the House, whatever, and said, that's it. It's nothing. And the public cheered. And Gavin Newsom, he's not leading some grand ideological shift. Let me say this. He's just following the herd and following a group of people that Trump's pretty much already rounded up. Fairness in sports isn't a niche debate. It's a gut level issue for millions of Americans. So what he's doing is he's saying, okay, I'll go along with that one. I'm not really giving up my left credentials, but he's pivoting. He is going to do whatever he says to win. And as I said before, the only way he can win is if he just lies. Americans who see biological reality trumping ideology every time are these people. Newsom knows it. Junk yogurt knows it. Every Democrat with a pulse, a couple of neurons in a working synapse knows it. Everybody knows it, and the people are starting to feel it. And the left is not, remember, they're not changing their minds out of principle. They're doing it because they're terrified of losing again. They're terrified. And remember, they don't have the money anymore. This is something they don't understand. See, Trump's influence here is undeniable. He's not just winning elections, he's rewriting the rules. His second term's barely begun. And what's very interesting to note, he's already got the opposition. This is important. He's got the opposition scrambling to mimic his clarity, his focus, his sheer force of will. He's doing everything in their power. Newsom's pivot isn't just a rejection of Trump, it's a tribute. It's incredible. The governor's he's not stupid. He's not stupid enough to take on the Trump machine head on. No. And remember, the Trump machine is going to continue, even though it's not Donald Trump. It might be J.D. Vance, but the MAGA movement's there. He's trying to outflank it by borrowing its best moves. And you can call it cynical, you can call it brilliant, whatever it is, it's working because the radical left's days of dictating democratic dogma are over. They're done. It's finished. And Newsom is the first person to dance on their grave. Now, in the end, remember, let me say this again. This isn't about transgender athletes or sports. It's about power. Newsom wants it. Trump's got it. And the radical left lost. And they lost it. And they've lost their minds. And the California governor's not some brave trailblazer. He's a weather vane. And he's kind of spinning to find out where is this going? You don't need a weatherman to tell which way the wind's blowing. I think Bob Dylan said it best. He wants to know, where is it going? And whether you're junk yogurt or whoever it is, you realize what we've known forever, that their policies don't work. Because let me tell you again, there's no money there. I want to know really how much you're going to see things go away. You see what's happening right now to Good Morning America and ABC. I mean, it is really seriously falling apart. It is falling apart. Why? Because there's no more money. The world has changed. The train has left the station. Donald Trump is that engineer, and the people are on board, and Newsom is scrambling, and he says, I want to get on this train, because by 2028, he's betting the radical left will be a footnote. And if he's right, and maybe, I know that for sure, it will be because he saw the future and bent the knee to the man who made it, Donald Trump. It's that simple. So keep that in mind. It's a very fascinating world that we live in right now, don't you think? Isn't it? I love it. If you like strategy, this is it. Brad Rung says, 1912 Oreo cookies were first introduced by the National Biscuit Company. Birthdays, your friend Rob Reiner, Alan Greenspan, by the way, Rob is 78, Alan Greenspan, 99, and Tom Arnold, 66, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Oreo cookies are vegan. And NBC, the National Biscuit Company, is where the Chelsea market is. And you can see on the side of the building, NBC, that's where all of that is. And you can see that. It's fascinating. Thank you for that bit of historical, that insight. I appreciate that. So what else happened in the news? Well, this is very interesting. Trump strikes back at the lawfare machine. Today, President Donald Trump signed an executive order that should have every corrupt lawyer in Washington shaking in their boots. This order suspends the security clearances for employees at Perkins Coie. Remember them? This is the same law firm that ran cover for Hillary Clinton's campaign and played a starring role, ladies and gentlemen, in the debunked Steele dossier. But that's not all. That's not all. This order launches a full-scale review into law firms engaged in radical, unlawful DEI hiring schemes. Translation: no more weaponized legal warfare against conservatives, and no more leftist activism masquerading as law. Welcome to the Great Reset, ladies and gentlemen. This is wonderful. If you lose security clearances, you basically are disenabled from involving yourselves at high-level, big white shoe firm stuff. Next, Fetterman's latest sob story. John Fetterman, the walking meme of the Senate, is apparently heartbroken because his fellow Democrats didn't appreciate his bizarre, touchy moment at Trump's speech. Sorry, John, but the Dems aren't interested in anything unless it involves virtue signaling and riots or banning gas stoves. Maybe next time he can communicate his feelings through a more familiar medium like an incoherent hoodie-wearing rant. He was very upset with the fact that they missed the appreciation of a young man with cancer, and how the country felt this, and how these idiots did not understand at the moment what was happening. He's showing you how he's positioning. Remember, this is a man whose stroke, his ischemic attack, was so great, he couldn't speak. He couldn't speak. He had aphasia. He couldn't understand. He had a machine. So now he speaks fine. How'd that work? Joe Biden could have used that. How about this one? You know who Jasmine Crockett is? Jasmine Crockett. Have you seen this? This Tiffany Henyard wannabe? Have you seen her? Jasmine Crockett. She is learning, put it this way, the Squad, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they've learned tone it down. But what she's doing, she's the that kind of thing. Whatever that kind of thing is. It's a different, again, it's a Tiffany Henyard. You know what I mean? So this race baiting circuit. So Jasmine Crockett dropped another whopper. I don't know if you saw this. I'm not going to play it. Claiming President Trump only wants border security to force. You ready for this? To force, quote, black people back to the fields. I have no idea what that means. That's right. She's suggesting that protecting America from illegal aliens is somehow about slavery 2.0. I don't know how, but hold on. She's the one saying that migrants, as she calls them, are here to work in fields for cheap labor. Projection at its finest. I don't understand what this is. She's the one who said, what are you getting rid of these people for? Who else is going to pick this? What? That's what you think this is about? Come on, you want people to pick the tomatoes, don't you? Well, so you like slavery? No, I don't like it. Well, make up your mind. Maybe she should look in the mirror before launching another one of these historically illiterate moments of I don't know what. But she's okay. Next, as I said, and I'm going to say it again, this is the biggest story. Gavin Newsom, best known for turning his state into this dystopian hellscape. This guy suddenly realizing, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, it's unfair to have men, biological males, crushing female athletes in sports. And now, so you're going to be asking, people are going to be asking, what changed? Oh, that's right. As I said, he's running for president in 2028 and is now pretending to be sane. Next up, watch him try to shake hands with MAGA voters while wearing a tax the rich pin. It doesn't work. We can see through it. And one thing too, Charlie Kirk and all of you folks, stay away from him. Do not give him any credibility. You're making me very angry if you do that. You don't want to make me angry. Next, Democrats abandon Israel. Did you see this one? Holy moly, the latest Gallup poll reveals what some people said was the case. Support for Israel among Democrats has collapsed. It's at its lowest point in 25 years, falling below 50%. Now, meanwhile, Democratic leadership is still pretending to care while their base cheers for anti-Israel protests in the streets. Now, remember, anti-Israel protests can also be pro-Palestinian. There are people who focus their disdain, their disgust, their concern on the human rights allegations regarding Palestinians. There are people who believe that what's going on right now is ethnic cleansing and apartheid and genocide. Not because they want to be mean towards Israel, but they're doing this in support of Palestinians. If you're smart, never engage with anybody in this because they don't know what you're talking about. And they think somehow that Hamas and October the 7th, and it just... But the interesting aspect, it looks like AIPAC-backed Democrats are way out of step with their own party. So that's going to be something which also is going to be interesting. I wonder how that's going to work out in 2028 rather, because, and in the midterms. And there's a way of reminding folks. Don't be surprised if you see Democrats say or put out things. Thank you, AOC, whoever, for standing with Israel. What? Thank you for your support. So you're going to see people coming forth rather, and this is weird, and it might be AIPAC related itself, to destroy Democrats, in essence, to primary them, but to allege or to suggest that they're supporting Israel among a group of people who are not necessarily pro-Israel. Does that make any sense? It's 2, 3, 4D chess. Very, dare I say, labyrinthine. Next, I love Trump cuts off USAID's swamp money. This is great. In a huge, huge win for America First policies. This time, and make a note of this, Ron, you were talking about Amy Coney Barrett. Judge Carl Nichols ruled that Trump can proceed with cutting nearly 800 USAID contractors. These aren't just any contractors. They're part of the bloated bureaucratic swamp that burns through your tax dollars, your money, like California wildfires. Now, the left, as you know, the radical left tried to block it, but the ruling is in. Their gravy train is over. And let me tell you something. Don't be confused with these intermediate, movements and the like that seek to deal with, what am I trying to say? To deal with temporary restraining order, injunctive relief things, where you are claiming that there's irreparable injury. That has nothing to do with the issue of whether Trump can do this in the first place. All right? Next, look at this. Democrats released this humiliating choose your fighter video. Did you see this? What happens when 6 Democratic congresswomen try to go viral? I think this is a Crockett thing. They released this embarrassing choose your fighter skit that social media tore to shreds. And it's hard to, I mean, imagine your least favorite, despised leftist politicians attempting to look tough while Twitter replies, basically, their response roasts them into oblivion. It's not pretty. It's not a good campaign strategy. It's a cry for help. It's horrible. And the thing is that Crockett and these others, they don't have a plan. They're just kind of enjoying the show. Good news also, my friends. House censures Al Green, Weird Al Green, the mean machine, mean Al Green. The House officially censured Al Green doesn't mean anything, but for disrupting President Trump's address to Congress, with 10 Democrats even voting yes. The left's response, breaking into song like a deranged high school musical. Just another day in the clown show known as the Democratic Party. This is where we are. This man was still, by the way, Al Green was unable to explain to you what it was that he was, something about health care. Well, what about health care? Well, health care. Well, what about health care? Well, health care. Listen to this. Did you hear this one? Well, I got to tell you what it is before you know it. Musk on the Floyd case. Oh, dear God. Elon Musk, America's favorite billionaire disruptor, is weighing in on the possibility of pardoning the ex-cop convicted in George Floyd's death. The left will lose their minds, but Musk continues proving he's willing to challenge the woke narrative. So stay tuned with that one. This one's going to be explosive. Do you believe that President Trump should, his name is Chauvin, I believe, Derek Chauvin. Do you believe that he should pardon him? Do you? Think about this one. Do you know? Do you know what will happen? It's incredible. Next, America's back, baby. Nothing screams we're back like blasting Creed and announcing the largest liquefied natural gas facility, whatever, in North America. energy independence, booming industry, and a good old-fashioned middle finger to radical environmentalists. It feels like 2016 again. The natural gas, we own this. It's the most incredible thing in the world. How about this one, my friend? Hunter Biden is broke and begging. Did you hear this? Hunter Biden is now so deep in debt that he's asking a judge to drop his laptop lawsuit, blaming LA wildfires, declining art sales, and, get this, his rented home becoming unlivable. That's right, the man who was raking in millions from shady foreign deals is now crying poor. Did you believe this? Maybe he can start a GoFundMe or, I don't know, finally get a real job. You can't make this up. And how about this? Imagine Ukraine's future without Zelensky. President Trump's team is meeting again with Ukrainian opposition leaders to discuss holding emergency elections to replace Zelensky. Translation? The days of Zelensky's blank checks and endless war propaganda may be coming actually to an end. If peace means regime change, then so be it, because the alternative is a global war that nobody wants. So listen, my friend, I keep saying the Trump train is rolling. It's rolling round the bend. And the left is scrambling, freaking out, from cracking down on corrupt law firms to shutting down taxpayer-funded slush funds. 2025 is shaping up to be a reckoning. Stay tuned, my friends. Stay tuned, because this is only the beginning. This is going to be so incredible. Better than anything I even thought was possible. Let me see. Fred Powell says, is Al Green in his formaldehyde now? Very funny. Very funny indeed. MRO Lavon says, my words are not being allowed in the super chat. Thanks, YouTube. I don't understand why. I don't understand why. That is very strange. That is not right. That is not right. None of it's right. Maybe we should speak in code like our friend Sparky did by calling things doog versus good. And now, my friends, this word. Listen to me. Are you drowning in debt? You're not alone. New reports show the average person is buried under $8,674 in credit card debt, with total consumer debt soaring to a staggering $104,215, including mortgages, auto loans, student loans, and credit cards. It's a financial crisis, and without a real solution, many will keep spiraling deeper. That's why I want to introduce you to a powerful secret weapon that has helped so many regain control. They specialize in consolidating all your debts into one manageable monthly payment, and even negotiate a settlement so that you can pay less than you actually owe. Think about this. They've already settled over $275 million in debt. Think about that. Helping people break free in an average of just 28 months. I've personally recommended their services to friends and clients who needed a way out, and now I'm bringing it straight to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. So don't wait. Book a free consultation today, right now, at NoDebtWithLionel.com. That's NoDebtWithLionel.com. The link is right under the title here. It's time to take back control of your finances. Act now. Get out of debt and start living the life you deserve. Friends, I hope you recognize the fact of how we are winning this thing. I know it sounds like I'm merely being perhaps maybe too laudatory. Maybe you think I'm just kind of... But I am so happy. Franco, by the way, Franco says maybe artwork is only available for sons of current presidents. Perhaps Don Jr. should pick up a brush. Remember, too, this was the biggest example of what's the word? The biggest example of fraud and bribery you could imagine. A friend of mine years ago brought something up. Years ago, Mark Simone told me this. Years ago, in the world of radio, the days of Murray the K and not Murray the K, but Alan Freed and payola and all this stuff. What they would do is the A&R guys or the people from record studios, they couldn't pay the DJs anymore. But what the DJs would do was their wives would all of a sudden, lo and behold, come up with an art store or arts and crafts or something. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, these folks, these women would have tremendous sales, many of them by and from people in the music business. Now, the disc jockey was not being paid. His wife was being paid. So in the case of bribes to Joe Biden's not being paid. His son's being paid. See? And you can see right through it. I mean, it's transparent. Now, don't be surprised if we find this. And do not give up faith on Pam Bondi. I know people are just I get into these. I don't know why. There's this Epstein argument all the time. Epstein, I gotta find the flight logs. And it's like, you still don't get the logs. By the way, you see Sam Bankman-Fried, who spoke with Tucker Carlson, very odd. A father, is Trump planning anything on that? Do you think? Do you think? With all the people, some people who've been charged with murder, they're not doing enough time as Sam Bankman-Fried. Anyway, there's so much to be discussed, my friends. So anyway, there you've had it. Is this comprehensive or what? Arnold Young thinks so. The Brad and Brad Rung and Fret Pound and MRO Levon and Franco, thank you so much. In 47 minutes, you have been imbued, saturated with not only news, but a perspective that is second to none. You are smarter. You are wiser. You're able to go off into the world and say, I know what this is about. Did you know this? Did you know that? Did you know this? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right, my dear friends, have a great and a glorious night, a great and a glorious day. Please take and accept my thanks for you being here. Remember, you make this possible. This is about you and me. Nobody else. We can spend an hour, 2 hours, or in this case, 48, 49 minutes straight with you. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. Follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Follow our sister channel at Lionel Legal. And make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. 87% of the people who watch us are not subscribed, which is very strange. All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious night. Until tomorrow, remember these final words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Dead.